Hello, beautiful souls. How are you today? I have another mind-blowing episode of what you thought you knew. You had no fucking clue. So I have been increasing in my abilities. My strongest ability is claircognizance. So what does that mean? That means that information just drops into my knowing. I don't have books in front of me that I've studied from, but I can connect dots and see hidden meanings to things. Okay. And that's just part of having a higher frequency. And it's like having your processor of your computer upgraded to a faster processor. You're able to process through things faster. So I was watching History Channel on YouTube. And so, the videos just continue to play, autoplay. And before I realized it, I was watching an episode of a program called America Unearthed. And Scott Walter is a forensic geologist. And I give him the credit for this inspiration. So the episode was about him being called to DC by a colleague who had discovered all sorts of hidden symbols and sculptures and meaning in DC. And so when I first started hearing it, I thought, oh, yeah, we know all about the pentagrams and, all those things, right? And I initially went right into what I thought I knew about the Freemasons. And then I started to pick up on some things. Okay. So this video is about the important aspects that I connected in a way a little bit different from what they were portraying in the video. But they were definitely the inspirations. So I want to give them the credit. And I'll link the description in the description box that episode that I saw on YouTube. Okay, so I'm going to go through a bunch of stuff, and you're going to have some images that you can pause the video on and see what I'm talking about, because obviously the visual image of the shape or sculpture will mean a lot more than my words do. But I have to explain what I'm also processing. So they go into the first thing that they say is that connecting the DuPont Circle, Logan Circle, Mount Vernon Square, Washington Circle, and the White House makes the 5-point star. Then he says, but I don't know if you realize it, when you substitute the ellipse for the White House, so then the 5 points become Washington Circle, DuPont Circle, Logan Circle, Mount Vernon Square, and the ellipse, you get a chevron, which is the 2 V's. And that is historically symbolic of the female pubic triangle. Also, where life comes from. It's an obvious feminine symbol. And he connected that it was not known at the time because of the time period, but he's gone back and discovered that each arm of that chevron, so the ellipse is the bottom center point, and then from that there's 4 arms that go out to the various circles at Mount Vernon Square. Each one of those arms equals 366 megalithic yards. And that's going to be important. It's going to be a theme that you see throughout this presentation. So that's two symbols, 5-point star, and then the chevron. Now, the other major geometric symbol that's significant in DC is the diamond. The diamond symbology is also female for narrow shoulders, wider hips, and the V at the pubic area, also symbolic of where life comes from. So the way that the diamond presents itself in DC is the boundary stones. There are 40 boundary stones in the Washington, DC area, and it was originally planned to be a square and 10 miles on all four sides. Well, it is a diamond right now and has been since inception because George Washington pulled the southernmost point down a little further on the map to include Alexandria, Virginia, where he owned property. He wanted that to be within the boundary markers of Washington, D.C. So his adjustment created the diamond, and his word was final. So that diamond symbolizes the female body, like I said before, and the V. And so it also connects that completely different symbol with the chevron symbol. So the megalithic yard is a unit of measure that dates back to 3500 BCE. Each megalithic yard is 2.72 feet. And it's commonly used in linked chains. And so there's metal, and then they hook together and they go out. And the total length of a measuring tape, for lack of a better word, that is to measure megalithic yards, totals 366 feet, megalithic yards. So that's symbolic also of the time period, because at that time there were 366 days in the calendar year. That was before the time and calendars got jacked with. So where else was megalithic yards used? Stonehenge. Stonehenge is measured out in megalithic yards. And we know that goddess worship was prevalent in that time frame. Deity worship was prevalent in that time frame. So my dot connecting is saying this patriarchal system that has inverted everything good for bad and has been super selfish and very harmful. At its inception, had hidden divine feminine symbology throughout the entire city. And in my mind, I'm saying, okay, so these architects of DC knew what was coming and knew there had to be a balance of energy from the feminine to offset the over the top overreach of the masculine, which is in the energy of the behavior of the people there. So the symbology used refers to fertility, creativity, and mystical powers in the time frame and carrying forward. So the patriarchy forbid goddess worship. It couldn't be out in the open. They couldn't say, yes, we're going to put Columbia here because she's a goddess and we want people to worship her. It was under other, initially the truth was there, but then they had to flip it around because they didn't want the masses, they didn't want the collective to understand that the goddesses were watching over DC. The hidden symbols and the use of the megalithic yard support the deity worship. The hidden symbols all over DC are obvious with those who have eyes to see. The secret veneration of the divine feminine is obvious too. So there's multiple goddess sculptures all over the buildings. Just again, eyes to see. Look at it in a different perspective and ask, who are these sculptures of? You may think that they represent something that they truly don't, or the story has been completely flipped into it not being a good thing, but personified as a bad thing, when it's usually the exact opposite. And that's what we've seen. That's what we've learned, right? So in 1848, the cornerstone ceremony placed by George Washington of the Washington Monument is done. So he's a Mason. They go through the cornerstone ceremony. Everything's done. The Washington Monument itself is the largest stone obelisk standing in the world, and it measures 555 feet. 555. Amazing angel number. Now, there's an image in this video of an aerial view of the monument and the Vesica Pisces that is created by the convergence of the two circles, with the monument in the center of the Vesica Pisces. And let's talk about that. That's significant. The Vesica Pisces looks like an almond shape, and it's symbolic of female genitalia. It's symbolic of where life comes through. Latin, Vesica Pisces means the bladder of the fish. So you see that fish symbol for religious symbology. It's a symbol that is associated with Yeshua, Jesus, and he's divine masculine. So there's divine masculine and divine feminine symbology all over District of Columbia, and really all over every major city. You just got to look for it. So the obelisk stands right in the center of the Vesica Pisces. So you have the phallic obelisk inside of the symbol for the female genitalia, where life comes from. So that those two together symbolize the union of male-female genitalia, heaven and earth, and the god and the goddess. Yep, sure does. The District of Columbia is not for recognition or attributes of Christopher Columbus. It is for Columbia, the pagan goddess. Her name is Columbia. She is on top of the Capitol building. She's not. So I've heard people say it's an image. It's illustrating her shape shifting into an eagle. She's not shape shifting into an eagle, but she has an eagle headdress on, showing her union with her power animal. Wisdom and liberty is also associated with eagles, right? Columbia represents liberty and freedom. Liberty and freedom. So she is female goddess of liberty and is seen all over. The Statue of Liberty is supposed to be her. Also the Capitol building, and then the Columbia Pictures icon woman with the torch. That's Columbia. So it's very evident that the Freemasons placed the symbols of goddess worship throughout the District of Columbia, hidden except for those with eyes to see. And I think we have learned, now we know to pay attention. Pay attention in a way that clues in all of our senses. Okay, so we see it, we hear it, we feel it. We have a knowing, we have a sense of understanding far above what the controllers at work have told us in the past. So I'm watching this kind of play out, and I'm taking these notes down and everything. And I thought, well, were all of the architects of DC Freemasons? And was that by design? It seemed like it was an elite club, and the best of the best were going to be selected for this job. And so was that just a coincidence? Because there really are no coincidences, are there? So all of the architects of DC were Freemasons. And that they portray it as coincidentally, but I don't believe in coincidence anymore. And it makes it even more understandable why those who had the Freemason training and belief in secret society and secret symbols would design secret messages throughout the city. Numbers. Now, this information comes from one of the Grand Masters of the Freemasons. Numbers are an essential language of Freemasonry. Geometry is at the heart of all the designs. Geometry is feminine in its origin. The square and compass with the G, so that's the symbol, the square and the compass with the G in the middle. A lot of people think the G means God, and it doesn't. It stands for geometry, but it also stands for more than that. The Freemasons speak of honoring the grand architect, the grand geometrician. The grand architect, when we say Father, Mother, God, when we understand that it is male and female source creators. So we have source creator of all things. That's Father God. And then we have Mother Sophia, creatrix of all life. And that's Mother God. So Mother Sophia is the grand geometrician of creation. And right there, you have Father, source creator, divine masculine. Mother Sophia, grand source creatrix of all life, divine feminine union. And so, again, homage to our Mother God in the G symbol of the Masons. At the core of Freemasons are balance between the feminine and the masculine. At the core of Freemasons ideology is a balance of the masculine and the feminine. Now, freedom is a feminine concept. Freedom is a feminine concept represented by Columbia with all the divine feminine symbols, while being hidden in the masculine patriarchal society. So, America is more than land, people, and government. It is of and by the founding fathers of America. Now, there's another area, another location in DC that has got some prominent symbology, and that's the Pentagon. And so they went out to the Pentagon and they did some measuring. And lo and behold, when you take the Pentagon, the ellipse, and the Capitol and make a triangle with those points, those 3 points, again, a triangle symbolizing feminine, the area of the triangle becomes 33 times 366 megalithic yards. The megalithic yard is reproduced and reused all throughout the city. It's a 3,500-year-old measuring system in a few hundred-year-old city. So having a connection, Pentagon, DC, Stonehenge, means that methodology came all the way from back in the day with the Knights Templar and the Freemasons. There again, at that time, was 366 days in a calendar year, and the triangle being the sign of the feminine. All pentagons live within a circle, and their circle around the Stonehenge area is exactly 5 times or replicated 5 times the distance of the circle that is around the Pentagon. So Stonehenge circle can be multiplied times 5, and then you get at the 5th one the circumference of the circle around the Pentagon. Just so many dots that are related to each other. And if you're looking deeper, you can see it. If you're looking through with your intuition, you can see it. You got to kind of take your brain out of it. And what we've been told, you want to take that out of it. Because we know everything that they've said has had an agenda. And the truth doesn't have an agenda. The truth is just the truth and can be respected and understood much better. So the association of the megalithic yard and the construction of all the Pentagon, District of Columbia in its totality, Stonehenge, these are all symbols of sacred feminine, liberty, and freedom. True goddess worship illustrated in symbology. The clues left all over the country, really all over the world. I invite you to look in your city. Go to your downtown area. Look at the old architecture and ask questions. If you're looking at it and it doesn't make any sense, it's because the story they told you makes no sense. They fabricated it, and the truth is there in front of you to figure out. Look for the symbols. Look for really, really old books dated before 1710, 1720. Whenever these symbols were left as these cities were being built across the country, so East Coast got attention first for building up their cities and their different monuments and government structures and whatnot. But that carried across the country. And a lot of the same architects, a lot of the same people selected for these contracts were Masons. It's just the fact, because they were really good at what they did. They really were the perfect people to carry out this project, not from a nefarious standpoint, not from a secret society standpoint, because they were really good at being Masons, at creating very sound structures. Now, the principles that we see all over are saying, let's balance the divine feminine, which is visionary, freedom, nurturing, love, and life, with the divine masculine, which is security, creation of structures, carrying out the vision of the divine feminine, protection of the family. That kind of needs balance. We've seen that too much of either are not good. Balance in all things is what we should strive for. That is unity consciousness. And so when you have star seeds that volunteer to come down to this planet and help elevate the consciousness of the collective, seeing the symbology that triggers memories of divine feminine and divine masculine and understanding the true meaning of those two is replicated all throughout the world. And so you have people who are just normal people that are saying, you know what makes sense? That we have balance in all things, that our government has balance in all things, that the divine masculine and the divine feminine come together and create a unity in union that is for the highest and best good of all, right? Pursuit of happiness. That's how you get it. You don't get there because you take orders. You don't get there because you don't think. You don't get there because you don't lead with your heart. All those things are told to you, but that's not what really gives you true happiness, because it's not authentic. So the principles were true. The dark agendas took that knowledge of the divine feminine and the divine masculine being balanced, and they destroyed it. They wanted to suppress the divine feminine as much as possible, because for any woman to realize their innate internal power and position from biblical times coming forward would have overthrown the patriarchal society that they were creating for control and power. So they had to suppress it in every way, shape, and form. They had to besmirch Maggie's reputation and paint her as a prostitute when she was never a prostitute, ever. She was and is one of the most benevolent yet fiercely powerful energy beings that has ever walked the earth. And her thank you was to have everything that she ever worked for and did suppressed, ignored, destroyed. Her, Yeshua, and their children hunted like they were the enemy. And all they wanted was to spread the message of unity consciousness and love and forgiveness and gratitude throughout the world. So I invite you to do a little research. Go into this video, watch it, see what triggers your memories or your thoughts, or your dots might start getting connected to things I didn't even pick up on. The truth is absolutely there for you to see. Every single system that today, in this now moment, is overreaching and playing a role in the oppression of the people was hijacked by the goodness. It was all created in goodness and good faith. And then those